Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the June 14th regular meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Ossining, 2016. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you could remain standing for one more minute, I would like to ask that we observe a moment of silence in recognition of all of the victims of the senseless attack in Orlando. This type of behavior cannot be tolerated. It certainly is not something that we condone here in Ossining. Our hearts go out to all the families affected by this tragic event. We must stand together in the face of this heinous act and make it our duty to welcome and accept all people.
Councilperson Jeffrey,
Present.
Councilperson Wilshire,
Present.
Councilperson Feldman,
Present.
and Supervisor Levenberg.
President.
Thought you were going to sing into.
We will move on to announcements.
Thank you. I'm glad to say that we have an incredible number of positive things happening here in Ossining. This past Saturday, I saw many of you at Village Fair, and boy, did we get lucky with the weather. The thunderstorms never appeared, but the crowds did, and it was a beautiful and energized day that we all spent in our downtown. So congratulations to our chamber for a job well done, and a special thank you to the village and town staff for making sure everything went smoothly and leaving no evidence behind. And also to our first responders who were there for us. That same evening, I joined many of our community members at the Dine Around event benefiting the Ossining Children's Center. Our good friends Richard and Marilyn Wishney were honored for all of their good work that they've done to support our young people in the community, to support the Ossining Children's Center, and to make sure that we have productive community members from our youth. I was proud to join them in celebrating while giving back to the Children's Center. I also attended a fundraiser for the Ossining Microfund, another community safety net that offers no-interest loans for surprise expenses and one-time obstacles and other hurdles that our residents may face. It was a wonderful event with music, games, and general enthusiasm from all who attended it and those who planned it as well. So congratulations to everybody. We have a busy weekend coming up in Ossining. The annual Ossining Rotary Officers Installation and Awards Dinner will take place this Friday night at the General Electric Training Center at 6 p.m. For more information, please contact the Ossining Rotary. Another exciting occasion. The Anna M. Dorner Middle School and Ossining High School graduation ceremonies will both be held this Saturday at Pace University in Pleasantville. The middle school will be graduating at noon, the high school at 2 p.m. The community is welcome to come celebrate the great achievements of our students. Also this Saturday is Ossining's annual Portugal Day celebration in the village, starting at 11 a.m. in Market Square, with the opening ceremony beginning at 12:30 p.m. Make sure to stop by one of the most anticipated yearly events in Ossining for some delicious food, festive music, and traditional dancing. The Friends of the Old Croton Aqueduct will be hosting Invasive Strike Force Volunteer Day on Saturday, June 18th, between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Please come out and learn under an experienced crew how to rid the trail of invasive species, and help to do so too. Meet up at the entrance to the Croton Gorge Unique area just north of 124 Quaker Bridge Road in Croton. There is special parking there for volunteers. You can get more information at www.aqueduct.org/events. Westchester Collaborative Theater will be presenting Notes from the Frontlines 9 monologues this weekend at the Steamer Firehouse Gallery at 117 Main Street, with performances on Friday at 8 p.m., Saturday at 8 p.m., and Sunday at 3 p.m. Tickets are only $15. Discounted tickets are available. On Monday, June 20th, I hope you will join me at the Ossining Public Library's annual meeting to the community. Come hear about the past year's accomplishments, the goals for the coming year, and to recognize the exceptional library staff. The meeting begins in the Boudars Theater at 7 p.m. and will be followed by light refreshments and music in the gallery. All are welcome. The following weekend will also be a busy one in Ossining. On the evening of Saturday, June 25th, Ossining's Relay for Life event will take place at the Anna M. Dorner Middle School. The town and village of Ossining has put together a team, and it's not too late for you to do the same. Visit the Relay for Life website for information on how to start a team or donate to someone you know who's standing up to cancer. We are getting excited for our annual fireworks celebration at Engel Park on Thursday, June 30th. Come down to the waterfront and listen to the amazing KJ Denner and her band kick off the festivities at 7 p.m. before the fireworks show at 9:15. Once the fireworks are over, Powderfinger will keep the music going, so bring a chair and start your holiday weekend off right. There will be plenty of food trucks there as well, so you can have the night off from dinner prep. KJ and Powderfinger are just the first artists in the 2016 Summer Concert Series. We have an exciting lineup for you this year, including Breakfast for the Boys, Soul Project, Sundad, Timbawa, Roxy Perry, The Vibe Theory, the Mike Risco Band, and wrapping up the season with a party in the park with the Old Mill Singers and a DJ dance party. Keep an eye out around town for some great posters featuring our headliners. Next Thursday, June 23rd, the Lions Club will be honoring 2 Ossining High School seniors at their Scholarship Awards Night at the Elks Club and making a donation to DARE. Arrive at 7 p.m., and the meeting begins at 7:30 p.m. There will be a buffet dinner and a cash bar. RSVPs must be received by June 21st. Contact Sandy McKee for more information. Finally, I would like to wish a very happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, including my own dad, my husband's father, my husband, my stepfather, and all the other loving and lovable men in my life, my friends who support us, respect us, treasure us, and honor us every day. And also to Councilman Wiltshire. May you enjoy a weekend of rest and of being doted on by all of the lucky people in your life. And now I'm going to ask for liaison reports, and just before I ask you all, I just wanted to read into the minutes a letter that we received from Mitzi Elks, the chair of the Environmental Advisory Committee to the town. Dear Supervisor Levenberg, as head of the EAC for over a decade and per our conversation the other day, I wanted to give you a brief town environmental overview. At the direction of the town, the EAC has been collaborating with the boards and consultants to address the pertinent environmental issues facing Ossining. Measures have been put into place to control development in environmentally appropriate ways. 1, amended environmental regulations. 2, hired outside legal experts. 3, newly appointed town and planning board chairs and members. Using these tools, the town has it in its purview to hold developers to specific regulations should the town opt to. The EAC acknowledges the importance of these changes. We look forward to continuing our work with the town to move forward where the benefits of development and these environmental initiatives strike a balance. We are grateful for the opportunity to positively impact the community through the protection and preservation of its natural resources on a short-term basis and for generations to come. Kindest regards, Mitzi Elks. I just wanted to also thank the EAC for being part of the Village Fair and representing us at the town booths this weekend, as well as Green Ossining and Energize Westchester. So that was terrific. Do any of my other colleagues have liaison reports?
Town supervisor was actually with us, but the Park and Recs Advisory Committee had a tour of the parks, of certain parks. We went out together. There was people from the committee, and then as liaison to the committee, and the village trustee, John Codman, who's also liaison to the committee, and our Christopher Soy, who's the Recs supervisor, and our parks foreman, Mario Villardo. And we took a look at Cedar Lane Park, Ryder Park, Crawbucky Trail Preserve. So we took got out and took a look at, what is there, what has been done, what could be done. And so I think we are very happy to say that parks is very much one of our main, considerations, things that people want to go out and enjoy them. And, we want to make them the best that they can be. And we, it will take time because there's a lot more work in some than others. But, I know I'm committed to it. I don't want to speak for you, but I'm pretty sure I can.
Okay, go ahead.
That the town supervisor very much has that as a priority for her as well, based on her mind, body, spirit initiative. So those, it was good, and we had some good ideas. There's some out of the box thinking, and if anybody wants to reach out to us and say, you know what, I go to these parks and I think, this could use some help, or we might be able to utilize it this way, we're always open to hearing that. Those would be great things. So that's it for that.
We do actually have the results of our park survey that we recently conducted, and we can share those out again with the community, with the board members. And we have done quite a bit of work over the last couple years at Cedar Lane Park on Shine House. We're in the process of fixing and doing some emergency drainage work there in the parking lot around the building, and hopefully when we get through that stage, we can actually finish the work on the building and make it ready for use in the fall. That we were hoping it was going to be ready in the spring, but found that there was more work to be done, as is so often the case when you start opening things up and looking. So we're going to continue to do that work, and we had some excellent work done up and around the pavilion at Ryder Park, which we took a look at as well. A lot of the masonry work, steps were fixed up, and it's really a lovely space now to host a party in. So make sure that you take advantage of it, and you can rent the spaces and the pavilions at all of our town parks. And I'm trying to think if there's something recently. We enacted a one-day peddler's permit to make it easier for people to come and sell it at events and things like that. Well, we enacted a fee for it, not the peddler's permit. But so that's just another observation of ways for people to take advantage of our incredible parks, and that's a community asset that we can all benefit from.
The only other one I have is I'm also the liaison to the Briarcliff Village Board. And so I haven't gone to as many meetings as I would like to, because there have been a lot of different types of meetings these days. But I have gone to a couple, and I also am in touch with the trustees. We also saw them at the Memorial Day parade, and so it's nice to know that we know our fellow elected officials in Briarcliff, and we continue to grow that relationship, and I'm happy to be part of that. So
The Ossining Boat and Canoe Club held its annual scholarship breakfast in honor of Donald Hot Pie Zarilla. We had a beautiful day. Thankfully, the weather held out again. And we're always happy to see everybody come and enjoy an all-you-can-eat breakfast and help with a scholarship for a high school student. So that was nice. I can't think of it.
So just one addition, I just wanted to remind everybody that Tax Grievance Day is June 21st, and that when you're done grieving your taxes, that you can celebrate the Make Music Day also on June 21st, and there will be a performance by Ostening's own Robert Stava at the new brewery and restaurant in Ossining, 6 Degrees of Separation, which will be opening at the location of the old McSorley's next month.
Move on to public comments on agenda items. Is there anyone here that would like to comment on agenda items? Please step forward. Give us your name and your residential address, please.
John Perillo, 72 Havel Street, Village of Ossining. Good evening, members of the board. Agenda item number F, I guess it's linked to number I. My question to the board is, when is the last time that the town of Ossining reviewed its master plan or comprehensive plan and adopted that plan?
2002.
Your current plan.
The last time that it was reviewed, or it was
And adopted.
Initially formally adopted in 2002, and then it was reviewed again, I believe, in 2007. And then most recently, I believe last year is when it was reviewed again, and there were recommendations made in 2015.
And I assume you had outside consultants?
Yes.
Okay. I understand that there's a potential development at the old Stony Lodge site, and one of your concerns, and not so much my concerns, but the residents' concerns, is that they want to build, they're actually asking for a spot zoning, I guess you would call it, which, sets a precedent. So my question to you is, was the application filed before the moratorium? Okay. I assume that the moratorium has no impact because it's already filed from the application?
Correct.
Okay. Lastly, when this was in review with all the necessary bodies, I assume the town board, town zoning board, planning board, and outside consultants, why didn't they recommend something different than what it is at present based on what's being asked for now?
I'm sorry, are you speaking about the moratorium recommendation, or are you talking about the River Knolls project?
I'm not familiar with the name. I call it the Stony
That's Stony
Lodge.
Lodge, yeah.
Okay.
So the Stony Lodge project is in the process of a pause deck. They're going through the phases with the planning board of making presentations to the public. Part of that, what they need to do as part of that is to show all types of different solutions to what could go in that space. I don't believe that's happened yet, but I think that they're going before the planning board tomorrow night. So that will be an opportunity to review and ask questions of them and ask them why this, why is this the particular proposal that's before the planning board. It has not come to the town board yet. The town board would at some point have to make a decision on zoning. That has not come to us yet.
If I can ask, what prompted the moratorium then?
The moratorium was kind of prompted by looking at our,
I state that because it was just adopted. You listed the years of its review and updating.
right, but I mean, but the comprehensive plan, some of the suggested codes were implemented, like some of the environmental codes were changed last year, and those were adopted, but there were other pieces of recommendations in the comprehensive plan that were not adopted, and they had to do with a number of zoning provisions, not specific to this particular site. And we just felt that a lot of these, and we haven't voted on it yet anyway, the moratorium is
understand.
obviously before us.
Right. Well, that's my opportunity to speak on it. Am I correct?
Oh, yes, no, absolutely. But I'm just saying, the reason that we are considering this, as is presented with grandfathering and all the projects that have already been in the planning process for months, some cases years, was because so many of these projects have already expended so much and invested so much money that it didn't seem fair for them to now for us to put a halt to these projects. It seemed, and I don't know if, Council, if you wanted to respond to that.
Well, excuse me. As far as the River Knolls project goes, I'm just going to flesh out a little bit of what you were discussing. The planning board is lead agency for secret purposes, and they did adopt a positive declaration, which means that the applicant is going to have to prepare an environmental impact statement, and part of that is going to be assessing several alternatives, which are laid out in a lengthy scoping document, which is pretty much an outline of the chapters of the environmental issues that the applicant is going to have to address in a lengthy environmental review. And the planning board is actually going to be holding a public hearing on that scoping document and asking for comments from the public to flesh out and further add to that scoping document when the applicant has to prepare the EIS. So certainly if you have any questions about that, that would be a good opportunity for you to review the draft scoping document and then submit your comments. As far as the moratorium goes, there was a chapter entitled Future Development and Redevelopment Chapter. There are outstanding zoning issues that haven't yet been addressed, and so this board decided that they wanted to undertake to review them. And as part of that, in order to make sure that they weren't undermining what may come out of that analysis, they decided to consider, and there's still going to be a public hearing on that. All they're doing tonight is scheduling a public hearing. So in 2 weeks at their next meeting, they're actually going to hold a public hearing where they'll hear more formal public comment as opposed to just, obviously you're perfectly within your right to speak now, but that will be another opportunity for you to speak to this.
Well, my concern is mainly with the town board, and I'll tell you why. Under the present zoning, I understand it's zoned for a single-family dwelling. And one of the proposal, or the proposal, is for rentals. Okay. In the village of Ossining, when I served on the various boards, you're the only board that is empowered to change the zone. Is it still true with the town? I understand that you could have recommendations from the planning board and the zoning board and various people, but ultimately, the town board is the only board that's empowered to rezone. Am I correct?
That's correct. The town board is the legislative board, so they can only make amendments to the zoning code. But the way the secret review is going to be done, it's a coordinated review, which means that the review that the planning board does is going to involve all aspects of the project, including the rezoning, and the town board, as an involved agency, will certainly weigh in on that, and they've been very involved, and they will continue to be involved in the environmental review process. But what the findings that the planning board makes at the end of that secret process will be binding upon the town board. So the planning board is also very much involved in that process as well.
Okay. Finally, spot zoning, as I refer to it, is a dangerous precedent in the scope of a master plan. It allows people of future applications to use that as a chip or a bargaining tool legally to possibly do other spot zoning. Thank you.
Absolutely, and I think part of the scoping document is going to actually require them to prove that it's not spot zoning. So, the zoning that they're asking for is not just applicable to this particular location, and or if so, how it cannot be considered spot zoning. So.
And
Once again, I'm just going by the review that you said and the most recent adoption of your master plan. I understand if it was like 25 or 30 years ago, it would be a better case for any application. But this has been continuously updated, and why wasn't it, reflected, possibly looked at or recommended that this be rentals at the time?
I mean,
Mr.
yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Pearl, hi.
Hi.
One of the things that there were a whole bunch of recommendations, and I remember one of the areas to be looked at was to be looked at what could be done with the Stony Lodge property. It wasn't something we had gotten to before the application came in. But there are a lot of areas in town that were recommended we look at the zoning and see if that's what's right for Ossining at this point. And that's why we want to do the moratorium. We would just want time for ourselves and the public to weigh in on what's right for Ossining at this time. Ossining seems to be a real hot spot for development right now. And we want to make sure that whatever's going on fits our town. And we just needed a little breather to stop and see what fits Ossining in all the different areas that the consultants looked at and said you might want to look at these particular areas. And there's a whole bunch of them. So that's why we're asking for the moratorium, so we have time to look at all the different areas that could be developed and see what we feel fits Ossining now and what the residents also weigh in and feel fits Ossining now. And Stony Lodge happens to be one of the parcels that was in the recommendation, but as they said, it already has a proposal, and that's going forward with the planning board.
Okay, so you have other recommendations throughout your jurisdiction, am I
Yes.
correct? So I can foil for that, I assume?
Yeah.
Probably could look at
Yeah.
What
Probably
is it
could
that
look
you're
at the comprehensive plan, because we have done nothing yet. This is what we are talking about, the potential of going ahead and looking at certain things that are in the comprehensive plan, certain suggestions and recommendations that are in the comprehensive plan with respect to zoning and parcels, and going from there. And the moratorium is coming from there in terms of the public hearing and deciding whether we're going to put that in place. But if you're looking for what we're going to be looking at, we're going to be looking at what's in the comprehensive plan for the most part.
And just evolving that into code.
Okay, I'm familiar with your comprehensive plan. Where maybe there's a miscommunication is beside the development or the potential development of Stony Lodge, under this conversation, I'm hearing that you have other possible applications in other areas, and that's why you want to put a moratorium.
No.
That's not the case.
No.
That's not the case.
No, it's not because of the
Well-
applications that are in the other areas, because we're basically grandfathering in any applications before us. It's,
That's what
we're
I
in
heard.
anticipation of as Councilwoman Feldman articulated, it's because we know that this is sort of a hot spot for development now. There are a lot of projects that we anticipate will be coming, and we want to make sure that the recommendations that have come out through the comprehensive plan process, through the public process over the last recent past, are actually implemented in code if we believe that they should be, and they're still relevant and up to date. So it's nice to have them in the comp plan, but if they're not actually adopted into code, then they're not useful as a guide. They're not useful as a guiding and legally binding document. Just having them in the comprehensive plan isn't enough as suggestions. So.
Okay.
And I just want to also make one other comment about the Stony Lodge property, which is that even though it's zoned for single family, it's also been a hospital for many years. So, forget what's the term for?
It's a legal pre-existing non-conforming property.
Yeah, legal
yeah.
pre-existing non-conforming. So there's certainly potential for, other
Well,
explanation.
See, that's the topic of my being here, or one of the things I'm being here. When you do a comprehensive plan and bring in all of the people to be and the outside consultants, that should have been looked at as a potential site for what is under consideration. For instance, I don't know Mariondale. It's a tax-exempt property. I don't know if part of that lies within the town of Ossining. I know there's a borderline somewhere around there, but that may not always be Mariondale. At some point, they may want to sell that huge parcel and consider it for some type of, potential development, and not wait for a potential person to file an application for something that a future board or the community itself may not want. That's my point.
And that's
And that's
exactly why
our
we're doing what we're
point.
doing. 100%, that's why we're doing what we're doing right
That's
now.
exactly our point.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to address the board on a particular or all the resolutions? Not seeing any. Resolved, the town board of the town of Ossining hereby approves the May 24th, 2016 minutes of the regular meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Resolved, the town board of the town of Ossining hereby approves the June 7th, 2016 minutes of the special meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Lost track of rows. I realize that I left a whole bunch of announcements out for explaining the rest of the meeting, so. You want to keep going? All right. Well, all right. Well, when I will do it in discussion when we get to each one, okay?
Okay, resolved, the town board of the town of Ossining hereby approves the voucher detail report dated June 14th, 2016, the amount of $1,267,070.53. Do I have a motion?
Second?
All right, second, but I have a question.
Okay. This was part of my discussion, so I just do a quick lead into why this is such a large voucher detail. So the reason that it's such a large voucher detail is because this is the basically 5 months of the police, right, of our police contract, and basically the village holds out until we have money in the coffers from having collected the town-county tax before they bill us. That's why it's particularly large. Now,
Okay,
Question.
yeah,
Okay.
I already understood that.
okay.
I just had actually a small question on, well, it's not working here. Right. I'll use this one. Okay. My question actually was to do with streetlight repair. We just replaced all of our streetlights. Are they not under warranty? We have a $413 streetlight repair, and I don't know if that's labor, or I thought they would be under
I don't
warranty.
remember what that particular one is. And we haven't done a streetlight repair, but we have replaced our LED lights, in many of them. That doesn't necessarily account for if there's one of the fixtures that's not working.
Okay.
But we can look into that.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I just thought at least we'd get a little while out of it
I think,
before we
I
had to.
think our budget officer may have some information, no?
I mean, the supervisor explained it perfectly, is that, I mean, some of there were all different sorts of changes that had to be made to our fixtures. Some of them were retrofitted, some of them, had to have new fixtures put on completely. So this is actually, it would be the bulbs and some of the fixtures that would be under warranty, and, we can certainly get you a report of what it is that, encompasses that, what did you say, 413?
Yeah, I just
Yep.
thought we'd get a little break from having repairs if we had warranties on everything.
All right.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
We also, just so you know, have certain areas where they're kind of off streets where they had their own, and I'm not sure whether we replaced all of those.
We didn't.
Right,
all
so,
of them.
so we still may have some of the old fashioned type repair issues.
Councilwoman Feldman, it was explained to us before they even started work, that there would be some times they'd have to come back, trees may fall on some of the, damage may go to some of the poles, and they would have to come back and redo that. But they couldn't guarantee nothing on that. There's a lot of reason that it could be.
Thank you.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Ossining authorizes the establishment of Capital Project 2198, titled Sanitary Sewer Improvements Croton Dam and Kitchewan Road for sewer main relocation and new manholes. The project budget of $50,000 is funded by a transfer from Consolidated Sewer Fund balance. Increase 037-8120, 2198, $50,000. Sanitary sewer improvement, Croton Dam Road and Kitchewan Road expense. Increase 0037-5031, 0198, $50,000. Sanitary sewer improvements, Croton Dam and Kitchewan Roads revenue. Increase 045-0045, 4795, $50,000. Fund balance revenue, an increase 045-9901, 0906, $50,000 transfer to capital expense. That's it.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, just to remind everybody, this is the contract that we approved for Manganero Engineering to do the engineering design and construction oversight for the project that New York State DOT is going to be performing at Croton Dam and Kitchewan Roads, and the culvert replacement project there at the same time. We have a sewer line that is being affected. We're trying to divert it so it will not be going right underneath the culvert. The DOT is going to be doing the work. This is to account for the designs and the oversight of the work that the DOT is doing, so we make sure that we get what we know we need there, and hopefully it'll be a win-win for everybody.
We know how long when they're going to start and how long it's going to
I
take?
know that they have to start, I believe they have to start by October unless they can get an extension. I don't,
Who's they?
DOT,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure that everybody knew who we were talking about.
yeah, they have to start by October. They've been, right now, they're doing all the planning and preliminary work right now.
You know how long the project's going to take?
I don't think they've given us an estimate yet.
Only because if they start in October,
Yeah.
if we have a winter,
Yeah,
that's going to shorten their ability.
absolutely.
So, I mean, I'm hoping that they're thinking that it's not going to take more than a month or less, because
We-
if
we
you
have-
hit
we
in
haven't gotten
November
an
and you have
estimate of time
storms.
yet.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm sure that that's partially because they have to figure out what the entire scope of the project is with
Okay.
the rest of pieces of it. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Resolved, the town board of the town of Austining authorizes the supervisor to execute an agreement with the County of Westchester for snow and ice removal from county roads for the period commencing October 1st, 2015 through September 30th, 2020, at a compensation to be determined in accordance with the schedules referenced in Schedule D of the aforesaid contract. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Okay, so this is, again, to authorize the county snow and ice agreement, which will allow us to accept payment from the county in exchange for us plowing the county-owned roads within the town. Questions? Discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
I guess I was going
Opposed?
to ask, which are the county roads in the town?
Okay. Would you like to be recognized? Our Highway Superintendent, Mr. O'Connor?
Thank you very much. In the unincorporated area of the town, Ryder Road, as after it passes the entrance of Brookside School out to the town line, that road is a county road. The county also has parts of Pleasantville Road, which is in the parts of it in the village of Austining and parts in the village of Briarcliff. There's no other, I can't think of any other active county roads at this time. Years ago, North State Road was a county road, but the town took that in dedication in lieu of a lot of repairs and everything else. But that's it. My only 2 cents on this, we're not getting enough money. I think we're expending more than what we get reimbursed for, and I hope that somehow we can get raised, but that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you.
But it's probably better than it not being plowed, because I don't think the county's coming to do it.
Absolutely. Did we vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Maybe voted twice, I'm not sure. Okay.
Resolved, the town board of the town of Austining hereby calls for a public hearing to be held on Tuesday, June 28th, 2016, at 7:30 PM in the Police Court Facility, 8688 Spring Street in Austining, in the matter of Local Law 6 of 2016 regarding the imposition of a temporary moratorium on development within the town of Austining to allow for a planning and zoning analysis consistent with the town's comprehensive plan. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So just to go back, and we talked a little bit about this already, thank you, Mr. Perillo, for bringing it up. Following, last week, we had a discussion at our work session to discuss calling for this public hearing to declare a moratorium on development within the town of Austining. We had our planner, David Stallman of FP Clark, present to the board with a proposal to perform a planning and zoning analysis for recommendations that were made in the revisions to the comprehensive plan, which were adopted last year. Those revisions can only be implemented properly if they are in the form of new town codes, which take some time to prepare. The analysis would offer suggestions and insight as to how the codes would need to be revised if we decide that, in fact, the recommendations are in the town's best interests. The moratorium would allow time to evaluate and implement these recommendations, and we want to clarify that the moratorium does not apply to projects already in the pipeline, projects already before the Planning or Zoning Board as of June 7th, the date of the work session where this was first discussed, are grandfathered in, and their work with the boards will continue as before. Are there any additional questions?
I didn't know that, I guess we could talk about, I didn't know that the moratorium potentially, having it would cover anything in front of the zoning board.
Zoning together.
I mean, they're
That's how
different,
we had written.
they're different departments, so they don't doesn't have to, right?
Well,
Or does it have to?
I mean, it doesn't have to be, but presumably, if someone's going before the zoning board, there are certain exemptions that we've discussed the possibility of implementing, specifically modifications or additions, alterations to existing single-family
Right.
homes. So if one of those projects were to come before either board, but generally, if someone needs a variance, it could very well be from the same type of development that would then appear before a planning board. And so to allow them to proceed in one aspect of it while then precluding another, it could be problematic, it could be inconsistent, and it could end up having the same undermining effect that you're trying to avoid in
I
having
just-
the moratorium in the first place.
Well, we just don't know what the list is. I just
Well, there is no, I mean, I don't know if
Which
any
list?
applications have come in since the 7th.
Is that what you're talking about? The list of
Zoning
what's, the list of what would be grandfathered?
For the zoning board.
The zoning board, yeah, I don't,
We know for the planning board.
right,
I believe there was actually coincidentally one application that came in on June 6th.
right.
And so that's something that the board will have to consider, but as of the way it was discussed at the work session and the way the draft local law is drafted now, it would be grandfathered in because the application was filed with the building department prior to the June 7th date that was set by this board.
Just to clarify, it's not going to pertain to existing single-family homes that want to do a deck or an improvement, correct?
That's exactly, yes, that's exactly what we meant. And that was,
That's
that
what
was
we
a
want.
concern of, that was a concern of this board. And there was discussion about whether it would apply to the development of single-family homes generally. And that's something that this board can consider also. However, because one of the issues that your consultant planner is going to be considering has to do with the development of single-family homes specifically and what those bulk regulations should be. It may be prudent to also include any brand-new development so as to avoid any potential undermining of the new zoning that may or may not be enacted at this board's discretion.
And so what we're doing tonight is calling for a public hearing, and so therefore there can be changes that we decide upon as we go forward, but right now, the local law is as presented, right?
Yes, it is, to have a public hearing, obviously the public needs to know what's being considered.
Okay.
And so there is a draft local law that's been prepared and will be available to the public. And so upon that draft, certainly in 2 weeks when you have the public hearing, it would be the opportunity for members of the public to come and speak about, whatever their thoughts are regarding that. And then this board, as it does when it holds any public hearings, will hear what the public has to say and determine whether it believes it's appropriate to incorporate any of those comments or alter the plan based on them. And then we would have to proceed accordingly based upon any comments or amendments to the local law that the board wanted to make.
Right, and this will be noticed, so the public will have an opportunity to look at it, review, and then give input at the public hearing, which will last as long as we feel that it needs to.
Correct.
So, all those in favor of calling for the public hearing on the matter of local law number 6?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention?
Resolved, the town board of the town of Austin hereby authorizes the supervisor to sign a contract with National Standby Repair, Inc., Scarsdale, New York, for the scheduled service of sewer lifts generators at an annual fee of $8,925, and be it further resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to sign additional purchase orders with National Standby for required work on generators not covered by this contract, provided that the town's procurement policy is properly observed. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So we discussed this a little bit last week in our special meeting, and our board members had some questions. We've invited our highway superintendent, Michael G. O'Connor, to give us a little bit more of an explanation as to why we are, why we were using National Standby in 2015, and why, again, recommendation is, and we have been using National Standby in 2016.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Supervisor and board members. I don't think on camera we should mention the name of the former company that we stopped using. Okay, thank you. We had a prior company with us for a while. Myself and key staff talked about this, and we were not happy with their performance on certain issues. So the contract ended, and I informed them that I would not be using them anymore. I reached out to colleagues in the municipal public works area for their suggestions, and I got back a few names, but really the closest one was, obviously, I dealt with the Village of Ossining. I have a lot of respect for Andy Tietz, who's superintendent of water and sewer, and knows pumps, generators, and everything else on hands-on experience throughout his career. and I value his comments and counsel. He used this company, National Standby. When I brought them in, and I personally went around to each of our lift stations, and I was impressed with the gentleman that was from there. And I've been around, and this type of equipment is no stranger to me. I spent over 6 years with the operating engineers in the city of New York around heavy equipment. I worked for Consolidated Edison Company. I worked on Big Alice in Ravenswood. I worked on major substations for electricity and everything else. And you know, in my experience in the Army running a motor pool and having mechanics doing work. So this fellow made a lot of comments to me, and most of his comments were, you can read into him, he was not pleased with the maintenance that was going on our equipment. And so it rather reaffirmed our decision to not renew the contract with the company that we had. He did go on, and you can see it, and I'm glad you did put this graph together, because you can see where some of the costs went up. They went up because he was doing work. He was replacing things that should have been replaced, and he was doing things. I'm still pleased with them. I like their professionalism. I touched base with, knowing I was coming here, with Andy and talked about them and everything else. And he's absolutely convinced that this is right to go. There are bigger companies like H.O. Penn, Caterpillar, they're out there. They charge tremendous amount of money. As Andy says, when I have $1 million generator, I bring in H.O. Penn. But when I have $10,000 generators, we get somebody that can do the job for us, do it well, and save the taxpayers money. The decision is ultimately was mine to go with this, and I felt that I had covered all the bases, done my due diligence, and I'm pleased with them. I know people don't want to hear this, but the most important thing is that water plant up there in Crotonville, and the ability to have sanitary sewer systems in this community is what makes us the community we have. When I sat on that board, and all those applications for group homes would come in because they had municipal sewers. They weren't limited on bedroom counts because we had it, and we always argued that point. But having these municipal sewers is what gives us the density that we have, and the sewers, we're lucky, fortunate that all the sewers in the unincorporated, if I may boast for a minute, most of them were built after post-World War II, so we have a lot. The village, on the other hand, they have their hands full. They have sewers that go back to the 1800s and the older parts of town, so they're really critical. But fortunately, we don't have any old sewers. We have everything that's pretty much post-World War II in the development of the unincorporated area. And
Do you have any questions?
but
from,
if there's any questions, I'm sorry I talk so much.
questions?
We're good.
Yeah, I have a question. I know that you were for years very adamant about the unnamed company. What did they do to
I'll tell you right now, off the record, I'll explain everything to you. The answer to that is, and Council Wiltshire, is not appropriate for this forum. I will tell you what took place and what that company, and explain everything to you. Right now, I don't think that dialogue is
but there
appropriate
was-
for this meeting.
I do think that there was also a management change.
That,
took
yes,
place within the
there was
company,
a
and I think
result of the thing that I'm not saying was a management change in the company. Thank you very much, Madam Supervisor. And so I'm not going to go into
management
details.
changed who was directly supervising the work, as I understand from Andy Teese, and that therefore the work that was happening then was no longer satisfactory.
I know that for years Mike has been
Yes, they were, and you're right. For a lot of years, they were good. They were good to us, but it started going downhill. We picked up on it, and we had to make a decision.
Good job.
Okay, so are there any more further questions from colleagues? Okay, so, well, no, we're not in that part of the meeting right now. Okay, so you can wait until the end. For all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Resolved, the town board of the town of Ossining hereby calls for a public hearing to be held on Tuesday, June 28th, 2016, at 7:35 PM in the police court facility, 8688 Spring Street in Ossining, in the matter of local law number 7 of 2016 regarding the imposition of a set of rules and regulations applicable to commercial structures within the unincorporated town designed to aid emergency responders. Do I have a motion? Is there a second?
Knox box?
Me?
Oh, not supposed, yes,
Okay. Okay, so this is a calling for a public hearing for a local law that we had discussed since last year. I guess that was also discussed last year. Our building inspector had been recommending a law to implement a Knox box system to help our emergency responders in the unincorporated area. I believe they do have this in the village. We don't have this in the town, so if there's an emergency, and you need to get emergency access to any of our commercial properties or our multifamily homes, and some of our government properties or nursing care facilities, this would present a way for a requirement by these facilities to have a box available outside of the facility that the emergency responders would have access to. And they would have information there of how to access the building, so it would basically keep them from having to break down doors to enter the property in an emergency. If the building has an alarm system, or if the building has special locks on the doors, and it is definitely relevant for us in the town. So we have
Questions?
facilities that this pertains to.
How many, three families and above, I think? Three
Yes.
families or more?
So this is, go ahead.
We're voting on having a public hearing.
Correct.
So we're going to have the public hearing. That's great. I think I'm going to have some questions, and some of them would be, how often in the town has this been something that we've needed? And how many municipalities, besides the village of Ossining, there are questions that came to me now. But I've always been circumspect a little bit about this particular thing. I understand why, but I'm just wondering, does everybody have, because how much is the fee for this, for commercial businesses?
John had said about $500 is
It's
the
just
one-time fee to
$500?
buy the system.
I'm just wondering if this is something that everybody has. Is this something that all the municipalities do, or?
Not all of them, because we don't, but
No,
I'm
no,
sure that it's,
I'm wondering if it's prevalent, or, if this is something that, what do other places do? Does the city of New York have this for every, like, how is this? It'll be a conversation we have at the public hearing.
Councilman,
Yes.
I think the idea, it doesn't matter that much about who else has it. I believe, now this is my opinion,
Right.
if it saves lives and it helps, who cares who else have it?
Well,
Now,
that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Otherwise, if the firemen's come to your house, and if you got an apartment building with 6 families and they can't get in, they're using axes on your doors.
But they're gonna do that in the private house too, so I'm just trying to figure out a little bit about the difference.
Well, if you do it in a private house, that's one door. Apartment buildings, you go into the hallway and then you start cutting doors and walls. This is to help. If you, and with the keys there, you don't have to do that. Get the keys, go unlock the doors and try to get in. But this is, and I'm saying this because I've put some of these in and I know that they're worth it.
You did that?
Well,
Look at Councilman with.
Can I also make a recommendation? Because the building inspector had originally presented this to the board, if you do have any questions that come up in advance of the public hearing, it might be beneficial to reach out to John and
Yeah.
see if he could come to the public hearing and maybe address those for the
Absolutely.
board and for the public.
So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Resolved, the town board of the town of Ossining hereby accepts the proposal from F.P. Clark dated May 13th, 2016, for Phase 1 of the planning and zoning analysis in accordance with the recommendations under the town's comprehensive plan with an estimated cost of $6,355. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
So as discussed earlier, the town board will now have the opportunity to approve Phase 1 of the proposal from FP Clark, our planners, which at this time is only to perform the analysis that I mentioned earlier relative to the comprehensive plan. If the board decided to move forward on any or all of the topics analyzed, we will have another resolution for Phase 2 and the associated charges. Are there any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Whereas the owner-occupied property located at 12 Ellis Place, Ossining, has delinquent taxes resulting in commencement of in rem foreclosure proceedings and a judgment of foreclosure, and whereas the property owners have requested to redeem the property, and whereas the town board desires to allow the owners of said property a window of opportunity to redeem the property prior to auction. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Ossining hereby allows the holder of property at 12 Ellis Place, Ossining, to redeem said property by paying all outstanding taxes, interest, penalties, and fees, plus an additional 10% penalty on the lien amount, for a total of $50,186.68, which upon the recommendation of the receiver of taxes, the town board finds to be fair and appropriate based on the specific and unique circumstances of this case. And be it further resolved that failure of the property owner to pay the balance of the taxes owed by July 31st, 2016, shall result in the property being included in the list of properties to be auctioned by the town of Ossining in August 2016 in accordance with the recommendations of the enforcement officer to be submitted to the town board for consideration at the town board's June 28th, 2016 meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay. So the owners of one of our properties that was headed for a foreclosure auction has asked for a chance to redeem the property. This would include paying all the outstanding taxes and penalties, plus an additional 10% redeeming it at this late date. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Monthly reports. Resolved that the town board of the town of Ossining hereby accepts the following monthly reports for the month of May of 2016. Town clerk's office, town supervisor's office, GE helicopter report, tax receiver's office, and Dale Cemetery. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Oh, I'm sorry. I don't. You want to ask a question? I don't know because there was a question about the report from the superintendent of Dale Cemetery about signs that were being installed, about getting quotes from other companies. And I don't know the answer to that question because this wasn't actually a town project. It was a town implemented project because we are putting the signs up, but it was actually through the Ossining Historic Cemeteries Conservancy. They received a grant through Senator Carlucci's office and to order those signs. So they themselves have to go through whatever the process is for the grant, but it's not a town expense. The only thing is that we said we would help put them in because part of that grant is also covering a couple of additional section signs for the town, which these are not.
Okay, I thought it was regular signs and not the
No.
grant.
Okay?
That makes more sense. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Okay, we move into visitor recognition. Is there anyone who would like to address the board? If so, kindly give your name and your residential address.
Good evening, Town Supervisor, Town Council. How are you? My name is Matthew Galata, 22 Wilton Place, Austin, New York, president and founder of Galata House. So we're really excited. There's two events in the works. We celebrated our first year as of 10 days ago, and with the community support and our fans and our really support of the community has been outstanding. We're going to be doing a first annual charity duck race. So the Rotary Club, which I'm a member of in good standing for the last 11 years, has been running this duck race. So this year, as of last year, they didn't do it, and the board unanimously decided to let Galata House take complete control over it this year. So I wanted to do something big, and it was brought to my attention that in the town of Austin, there's a family who was on the Metro North train wreck 2.5 years ago, Spuyten Duyvil, and he has a 4-year-old daughter, a 17-year-old son, and after 6 months being at Burke and 2 years being in the hospital and rehab, he's going to be coming home in the middle of July, towards the end of July. So what we're going to do is raise some funds and get a play set for the 4-year-old and do a patio with pavers, so the wheelchair bed can access the yard with the children and doesn't get stuck. And so we're really excited about that part, and to help other families in the local area. So it's going to be July 30th. We're going to be doing it at the Kill. The exact place is still to be determined. I want to specifically thank Mr. Northern Wiltshire for your support in this and your help. I do appreciate that, sir. So afterwards, it's going to be from 10 to 12 to 2 hours. And we're going to kick it up a notch from 12:30, around 1 o'clock. We're going to Nelson Park for a family fun day with music and activities for the kids in the community like we did last year. So I'm very excited about that part. It's going to be a very exciting day in the village, in the village of Ossining, and we're helping out a town, specifically a town resident who I'm very happy to get to meet, and the family. So please mark your calendars. More information is going to be coming, but we started selling the ducks, the village fair, which was very, very productive. 36 ducks were sold, and we did our 50-50, which one of the vendors won $135. And it's just nice to have the chamber support Galata House and the community, and have thousands of people show up to the village fair in support of all the other nonprofits, and just to have a nice community day. So that being said, I would like for the board's consideration again this year a request when we sell our ducks, like we did previously at the Ossining Fireworks, if we can have our table like previous years and sell our ducks. So do not let me know now. You can get back to me, but I do want to throw that out there tonight, and please consider it. The second thing I would like to talk about, very exciting, probably one of the most exciting top 3 things this year. The Ossining High School School District partnered with the LLS, Leukemia Lymphoma Society. And for 3 weeks, the High School Interact Club and the Research Science Department, with the community and other students and other clubs and other schools, with the consent of Mr. Ray Sanchez, which I'm very appreciative of him backing this and helping me with this, the students in the community raised $15,603 in 3 weeks. Now, they raised this money specifically for Leukemia Lymphoma Society, but the goal was $25,000 because Ossining High School was going to be hopefully was going to be the first school ever to get a research blood cancer grant in their name. But we're going to be having LLS, Mr. Sanchez, Mr. Mendel, high school students who raised a considerable amount of money with certificates from LLS and a plaque, a dedication tomorrow, just to show their appreciation. And next year, hopefully, they can do it. But in 3 weeks to raise that much money, to have the kids' spirit and have the community rally for the high school was really something special, because that's a really short amount of time to raise that much money. And the word was out, but it wasn't really that out that much. And to see the community come together to fight whole blood cancers is extra special. And specifically for my cousin, who had his 5th brain operation today, who came out of surgery okay. It hits home, and it doesn't matter if you have it, if it's a family member, if it's a friend, or someone in the community. I like the fact that if it's likes, well wishes, prayers, people coming together, offering food, rides, helping one another, regardless of you know them or not, just because you want to be a part of a community or be a better person, is really amazing. And it's touching for me because I see it all around Ossining. It's an amazing village in town. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And we appreciate all of the information and all the good work that you're doing and that Galata House is doing and supporting our community.
Is there anyone else who'd like to address the board?
Is there anybody else who wanted to address the board? Okay.
John Perillo, 72 Havel Street in the Village of Ossining. Before I speak on what I came here for, I just want to backtrack on some of your resolutions. No discussion, just for your own. And it's not to challenge Mike O'Connor or his judgment or his due diligence. On item number G, the standby generator, I assume you have a procurement policy in place that you go through a process and award it to the lowest responsible bidder. I know that there was a problem, as he stated, with the previous vendor, but if that vendor comes in lower, you know, if he challenges this here resolution, you have a problem on your hand, okay? So I assume you have a procurement policy, and it's usually the lowest responsible bidder. I've seen it when I served as mayor, and it was not a nice thing. So maybe the rules are different, okay? I can only do that in the event of an emergency situation, and it has to be documented. That, no discussion.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, this isn't actually a public works project or anything that does require bidding. It's considered professional services. So as long as it's something that the board authorizes by contract, you know, they have to follow the procurement policy, same as anybody else once that contract is awarded, but it's not something that has to be bid.
Okay. And on J, just as a suggestion, people that suffer this, you know, problem with in-rim foreclosure, it might be more helpful that instead of the location of the property, to mention the property ID. It is an embarrassment enough sometimes for people that fall on hard times, not to mention 12 Ellis Place instead of maybe using section block plate. It's still legal and everything. That's just there. Okay, what I'm here for is a continuation of, and let me give you a little history here. It's the reassessment. And we're talking about a half a dozen parcels that I own. So I received my initial letter from the reassessment, and the community was told that you could set up an informal meeting, and which Marcia and I did. And we went to the library, met a gentleman from Tyler, and we gave him all of the documentation for all the parcels involved that we felt needed to be addressed. There were two parcels that I had concern when it came back at the end of May or the beginning of June for the final recap of the informal meeting. One of them was 6 Havel Street, which is a 2-family home, which I supplied information from my fire insurance and liability insurance. They have it as a 3-family home. There are 3 meters on the house. That's what Tyler told me. That's how they sent the paperwork in. 1 meter is owner meter for the hall lights and stuff of that nature, outside lights, and apartment 1 and apartment 2. Mr. Fernando there said that it's a monetary amount, that I guess a 3-family house is worth as much as a 2-family house and vice versa. So I challenged that there part. On 72 Havel Street, my house that I live, I bought that house in, I think, 2001 for $350,000. Within the past 6 months, I had the bank, my lending institution, appraise it. for about $535,000 because I was going to see what equity I had in the home. They have me down as $690,000. I gave all the documentation to the Tyler people. 60% of my property is on a 45-degree angle. I showed, I brought them a survey, I brought them topos of the property, and all the necessary stuff. If anybody's familiar with Havel Street, there's a double yellow line in front of my house, which has an impact on curb appearance. That beautiful rambling brook that I have in back of my house, it's beautiful when it doesn't rain. When it rains, it becomes serious rapids. Havel Street, if anybody travels Havel Street going up to AMD or Claremont, you cannot move. It's a narrow street, two-way traffic. I have a commercial site next to me. Here's what really bothers me, and I think the board needs to address this. I don't think that I should be called you people. Nobody in this room, elected or appointment officials, would call an African American, if he was addressing the tax assessor, you people. I'm Italian American. I find that really, really offensive. Then to be told that I'm there upon his request before I got involved with a grievance or a certiorari, to call him. I called him and we set up an appointment for yesterday. He told me that I was there for political reasons. I take offense to that. I'm there as a private citizen. I didn't go there and tell him I was former Mayor John Perillo. That's number one. Number two, he made insinuations that I was there, Marcia was there, to look for special favors. That's not true. I've been building in this village for 45 years. I've always gone through the process of zoning board, planning board, building permits, certificate of occupancy. I sat on various boards, never asked anybody to do anything that was beyond the scope of what their duties for. I reminded your tax assessor that he's a public servant, and I recorded everything too. So I'm putting you on notice that I'm willing to meet with any one of you or the supervisor and the gentleman to iron this out, or I can be here every 2 weeks doing this. Doesn't matter to me. But I want an apology for that. I'll go through the process, but I don't want to be told that I'm there for political reasons and be called you people because I'm beneath him. I'm not. Believe it or not, we the people pay his salary. He serves at the pleasure of a town board, whatever board is there. So I'm bringing this to your attention in public because I think you should know things. Power that is given to any elected or appointed official should be used and not abused. And I'd like somebody at some point to get back in touch with me. Marianne knows how to get in touch with me if you want to iron this out. But I feel it was incumbent for me to come here. See, most people won't come here. They don't like this forum, and I understand that. But I'm not going to have this weigh on me and be belittled by a town employee that calls himself a town assessor. Maybe this got blown out of proportion. I'm not looking to do anything. I've given you my documentation. I went through the process as instructed, informal meeting. Town assessor told me call him, and he was gracious enough to set up an appointment. We met. It's just that I don't want to be looked at as a former candidate or a former mayor or any of the things that I have served this community for the past 40 years.
Thank you, Mr. Perillo. I appreciate your comments, and as I'm sure you know, we work closely with the assessor, and it's very important that we look at everything equally and make sure that everybody has had a fair opportunity to present their case, whether it's before the assessor, before Tyler, or any of the assessing arms of our community. I'll certainly look into it, but I have had a preliminary conversation, and I can tell you from the conversation that I had with the assessor, I heard a different story. So as you know, there's two sides to every story.
And then there's the
I'm happy
truth.
to continue to look into your
Well,
accusations.
I'm going to be gracious
but
enough.
I will
Okay.
also say that, I think we all know that there's two sides to every story from
Well, here's what
everybody.
my father told me. There's two sides to every story, and then there's the truth. I'm not going to play the recording now, okay, because I think that will clear up a lot, okay? But the comments were definitely prejudicial and borderline racist to me, okay? So
I think you might want to be careful, Mr.
No,
Perillo. You just might want to be careful what you
As long as
say.
I have breath in
I
me,
mean, 'cause you're
as
saying-
long, listen, as long as I have breath in me and able to stand, I'm going to make my comments because you weren't there. He can say what he wants, but I'll play what really happened.
That's fine. That's fine. You can play what really
Okay,
happened, but
so
I just think
I'm
you should be very
available.
careful of the accusations
Yeah.
that you make in
No,
public
no, no,
on
no,
camera.
no, no,
Thank you.
don't. I don't need
Okay.
you to school me, madam. Please, okay. What I forgot, you have to learn, okay. Now, what I'm saying, if you want to have this conversation between the three of us and resolve this,
I'll
I'm
get back
available.
to you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to address the board? Not seeing anyone, may I have a motion to adjourn for executive session for contracts?
Going into
Thank you, everybody. And once again, I just like to, oh, sorry. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you, everybody. Once again, happy Father's Day to all the good fathers in the audience, and I hope that you are treated well by your children and your grandchildren and all those who absolutely should be treating you well. So have a great night, everybody, and we'll see you next week at our work session at Town Hall. Thanks.